Well, good morning, everybody. It looks like it is going to be a rainy, muggy, cool Memorial Day here at my house. But grab your cup of coffee and let's do a walkabout of the front porch because I have made some changes in my plan that I shared with you a while back in another episode on YouTube about transitioning my front porch from spring into summer. And so I thought I would let you know what changes I've decided to make and also simultaneously answer some of the questions that you guys have. I certainly won't get to all of them, but I'll get to some of them and you'll be able to see, like I say, some of my thinking and my mental process about why I changed some things. So many of you, let me start out here. And yes, there's my hose. I'm going to put that up this morning. Many of you have asked me, how do you make a topiary out of a double-stemmed boxwood when it starts out? Well, here are two examples. I made both of these. I believe these are both Green Mountain. They might be Green Velvet. And as you can see down here, this one has a double stem. And basically they were both fairly vertical and straight, so I didn't let that bother me. I need to snip off that growth at the base. But you can see that that double stem continues all the way up to the top. And at the top even there's two different trunks. But overall the effect is one of a 3 pom-pom boxwood topiary. Many of you have asked, where do I get these two tours? And I got these years and years ago, I think at Hobby Lobby. I'm not sure, but that is one place to look. You could also, here in Oklahoma City, look at Statuary World, look at TLC. You can order some online. Here is a double ball or a double poodle standard of boxwood, the same variety, and you can see down here it has a double stem. It may have started out as a triple, and I removed one of them. It too has a little tuft at the base. These need just a little bit of clipping. But all of these I started from scratch, and they just grew up over time. This one is just a double, and it will probably remain a double. I potted up this year several of these Nightlights Chemacyparis. This is a Southern Living plant. They make a nice stand-in for lemon cypress, and I'm all about this chartreusey gold this time of year. If you need a really great plant for shade that provides color, then I would highly recommend this Everillo Carex. It is a Southern Living plant too, and it can really handle deep shade here, and I think it creates kind of a nice contrast between the type form of the Boxwood Topiary. These are all in topiary form, and they are all in urns. There's a double one at the end. They're all in urns that I've had for years. I aged them myself. You can find those. I believe I got those at Home Depot. So you can see in the distance there's another pot of pink geraniums. That's a Nellie Stevens holly there that I planted about 5 years ago, and it is in need of being pruned, but it kind of grounds the west side of my house. These plaques that are on the front of my house, I think of them as gold jewelry. They can be ordered through a variety of sources. You can find them online. Just Google bronze house plaques. There are some that hang on the house itself, but there are also some that you can get that are on stakes that you can just put in the ground. I do have gutter guards on. This is the less sexy side of gardening. I do have gutter guards on, and you can see I need to blow out that debris. I may have pointed that out on the last little tour, and I still haven't done it. This boxwood, I told you in a previous video that boxwood actually transplant pretty well. This one was transplanted from the back. It's beginning to fill out. I have waited to prune on it, and I'm going to give it a clip so it will fill out even more. You can see it was windy last night, and there are twigs and leaves and things about that I'll clean up today in between raindrops. These are two. One is happy, one is not. Just little boxwood with some Asian jasmine, which looks a little bit like Vinca minor, but it is really tough, and it does overwinter nicely here. And this sweet little guy is a new addition to my front porch, but I love the fact that it's got that roundy moundy form. This is a Mojo pittosporum. It's a southern living plant, and it also is tipped in gold, which harmonizes with the other things on my porch. So what is different from the last time I showed you this? Well, here's what's different. I told you that I had, in this window box, I had really cut back the lamium in front, also called, I think it's called Bishop's Weed. And I cut it back rather hard, and you can see it's filled out. It heals very nicely. And I also trimmed a bit on the variegated ivy that spills over the edge. So let me step back so you can kind of get the overall effect. I'm getting ready to clip on those two boxwood cones to get them a little tighter and more symmetrical. So in that last video, and go back in time, I think it's called Front Porch Transitioning, you can watch it to see what I was originally going to do, and this is how I am diverging from that plan. I had a package of white caladiums, white Christmas caladiums that I had planted in here, and I decided that number one, I got them on sale, but the corms just, the bulbs just weren't very good, and over time they never sprouted, and I thought maybe they just weren't of a good enough quality to make much of a statement. There was no great financial investment in them, so I decided to take them out and put more of this lemony Everillo carex in here, and I love the contrast, and I love the way it makes a statement in the center of the window box. Again, it can handle part shade to shade. Now, I may have pointed this out to you in the past. The birds are all listening to this, you can tell. This heuchera of unknown variety is very lemony, kind of more of a chartreusey color. And this, that came from the nursery, this Everillo carex, looks more golden. And I want it to be a little bit more lemony and less intense gold, which speaks more fall to me than maybe summer. So let's pan back over here where I showed you this pot earlier, and look at how green and lemony yellow that is. That's because this has been in shade. And things that are golden in color, when they're in shade, they tend to have a less strident, a limier green, more of a chartreuse hue than when they are in full sun. That over there, in case you didn't watch the previous video, that is Scotch moss in there. And I want this to be that same lemony hue, which it will adopt over time since now it's in shade. So I'm going to do some trimming on it. It has a few dried edges, so I'll do some trimming on it, and it will be absolutely wonderful and fresh looking and voluptuous once it's all done. I also am putting a pot at the base, which I will do the same. Now I've also tucked in, I'm planting a few more pink geraniums, or excuse me, pink begonias. that echo the pink begonias in the hanging basket by the front door. My color palette for this year is yellow and pink. And so I bought just a few more begonias, and this will be in short order. It will be very full. This whole window box will be very full. Now in the spring, if you go back and look through some of my media, you'll see that in the past I had just tons of pots of tulips and other blooming bulbs here, narcissus and hyacinths. Well, I now have substituted those pots with some pots of lilies. And these need actually a little bit more sun than they get right here, so periodically they get a vacation in the sun, and then I put them back in place, and then once they bloom, they will bloom in a color palette that matches this. Now one more thing, over here in the corner, I've decided I am going to plant a blue or lavender clematis in that corner that can kind of start climbing, or not. It can spill out over the edge. I think we always think of clematis as being a climber, but you know, they can spill too. And it will be pretty and accentuate the detailing on the window box. Some of the vines may wind their way around this metal tutor. The reason that it was easy for me to pull out those caladium bulbs or to not rely on them was because it was kind of in defiance. That would have made it more of a white and a pink tableau, and I wanted to stay with the yellow and pink tableau. And so I think this fits the bill far better. And it also makes much more of an impact from the street. Later on I'll take a still and you can see. So I really love these variations in color. I think they're so pretty. And this boxwood over here will also get a pruning to tighten up its canopy. That's one thing about boxwood that grow in the shade. They may not grow as quickly, but I think it's equally as important, if not more so, that you prune them with great frequency so that you tighten up the canopy, which can be, and the density of the foliage, which can get kind of leggy growing in shade. And there's another pot of pink begonias. Those are angel wings over there. And there's my spot where I read the mail in the morning or have my cup of coffee. So apparently you guys are interested in kind of what my thought process is as to what I do or I don't do and why I do or don't do certain things. So maybe that gives you some insight into the scary thing that is my designing brain. So I try to think about the overall effect and then the effect and the microclimate and micro conditions in each different area. Big thunderstorm coming today, so I can put up my hose. I know it looks unsightly here, but you can barely see it from the street, so I'm not always as attentive about that as I should be. And one of the elements of my gardening manifesto is that there are 3 periods of excellent opportunity in the garden, and that's before a rain, after a rain, and as the seasons transition. And after this rain, I will be doing lots of weeding and cleaning up, and all of that will be made ever so much more effortless by the fact that the ground will be wet and the weeds will pull easily or slough off easily. So I hope you have a nice Memorial Day. I hope you can do something fun, if not gathering with a lot of people. And from my window box to your YouTube box, stay safe and stay well.